schools are letting out for summer break. Pools are filling up and trips are being taken all over Texas. But accidents can happen anytime. That's why you have your ace in the hole, your right-hand man, the sombrero backing you up with Northwest Insurance Agency. Give us a call today or visit us at nwagencies.com to get covered under the sombrero today.
This is the On the Pony Express podcast, part of the On3 network. Check out all the SMU coverage you need at ontheponyexpress.com. Now, here's your host, Billy Embody.
1, 2, 3, let me go.
Well, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to a special live edition of the On the Pony Express podcast presented by Northwest Insurance Agency. I am Billy Embody. Thanks for listening on this Wednesday, May 21st. Appreciate you guys stopping by. I appreciate you reaching out to Mark Villasana and Northwest Insurance Agency today. 214-352-5656 is how you can get in touch with him for all your insurance needs. Wanted to do a live podcast just because, look, SMU has stayed hot in recruiting and woke up feeling chipper and ready to roll. And last night, SMU picked up another 2026 commitment. I was out to dinner with some great friends and felt the phone buzzing in my pocket and kind of looked up and it was kind of a late night or whatever, but looked up and I was like, oh, that's what it was. Cool. Another commitment for SMU. And it comes in the form of Andre Nickerson out of Inglewood, California. So go ahead and stand up, Inglewood. He started his career at Sarah High School, but transferred over to Inglewood, and SMU's been on him for a minute. He was a part of that May 2nd official visit weekend. And I mean, quite frankly, he kind of just slipped through the radar in a way when it came to his reaction. We didn't get to catch up with him that morning and then didn't really hear much about it. But, a couple people had reached out and kind of wondering, hey, have you kind of heard any buzz or anything around this? So maybe it should have been a little bit more of a telltale sign as our own Dean Rawlski really kind of keyed that scoop there. But SMU, very, very happy with this commitment. If you are watching on YouTube and catching the podcast there, you will see that he is a big body tight end over the middle. And immediately the message board at On the Pony Express jumped to RJ Maryland. And I think that's a really good comp to this prospect, not only because of, I just think his tape on the football field, but just how athletic he is overall. Multi-sport athlete, plays basketball for Inglewood, plays above the rim, which is really what you want. And for SMU, they are continuing to load up at the tight end position. 6'4", 222, Andre Nickerson listed as, and he's not afraid to catch the ball over the middle. He physically, if you look at some of his pictures on like his Instagram or his basketball highlights, he physically is already at, where RJ Maryland maybe was going into his freshman year, like after he got on campus and spent some time in the weight room and did all of that. It seems like, at least from watching on tape, that's where Andre Nickerson is in his physical development, which is exciting because SMU, of course, has to wait a whole year before he steps foot on campus. But this is a big recruiting win out west for SMU. So kudos to Casey Woods, the whole staff, for getting this one done because, when you look at who offered him, I think it's a pretty good group. Arizona, Washington State, Arizona State, Boise State, Cal, some pretty good schools that were after him. And he's a top 50 tight end, on the verge of being a top 40 tight end for On3 24/7 over there, has him as a top 25 tight end nationally, a high 3-star prospect. I'm going to at least, say to our rankings team, go ahead, take a look. Multi-sport tight end is very difficult to scout. I would say it's probably one of the hardest positions to scout in college football because you have so many guys that, grow out of being a wide receiver into a tight end body. You have guys that are more physical point of the attack, blocking tight ends who have some pass catching skills that can end up in the NFL, which when you're grading and you're trying to rank for the NFL draft, that's the hard part is figuring out some of those traits and what really stacks up for a player and how it'll translate to the league. So really nice pickup here in Andre Nickerson. He joins this SMU class that has been red hot lately. So another prospect now that gets SMU inside or up, I think, to 17 in the rankings on the On3 industry rankings. So a really good start to this 2026 class for SMU, and they just continue to chip away at their top targets. I mean, that's been the name of the game. A lot of people going into this month after that official visit weekend said, hey, this is a time where we're going to host these guys. We're going to roll out the red carpet, and we feel good that we're in the top 2 or 3 for all of these guys. And if we wow them, maybe we do come away with some of these targets that we really want and go into the summer on a heater. And that's exactly what has happened for SMU for the most part. When you go back to that May 2nd weekend, you had Christian Rhodes was the lone SMU commit on campus, but then you got Aljor Miles. You made a lot of progress with DeQuain Prevost, the Arkansas commit. You got Papunga Katoa. You got Markel Dabney. You got Andre Nickerson. You got Braylon Edwards. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 commits already from that weekend alone. So a really good, strong, not finished product, but result from that weekend, May 2nd. So kudos again to Rhett Lashley's staff. And they're really, at a point in their recruiting world where they can go out and get just about anybody they want. I mean, if they really put their mind to it and they put their resources to it, we've seen it beating Oklahoma for multiple prospects. We've seen them flipping Ja'Kai Anderson. They're just on a roll. And so that's contagious, I think, when you're a staff and you're recruiting that well. So really, really good stuff there for SMU. Before we continue on, I do want to remind you guys, of course, about our friends at StatusJet as well, statusjet.com. Reach out to them today. I mentioned on the last podcast how David Henry and his team is already talking with one of our own subscribers about the big Clemson trip. I would imagine a lot of people have that on their plans for this coming season to get to Clemson. Well, it's a really hard trip to get to. So make sure you go ahead and plan out that trip. Talk with David Henry and his team at statusjet.com. When you mention On the Pony Express, you'll get a discount on your round trip flight. So Andre Nickerson becomes commitment number 13 for SMU in the class of 2026. And I mean, I think 13. I can count them right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. So SMU off to a really good start in the class of 2026. I think the interesting thing now at the tight end position in particular, when you look at who's SMU has been after, is I would say you got to go get 2 tight ends in this class. I think that's fairly safe to say. And when you look at who they have that on the roster that they're losing, RJ Maryland, Matthew Hibner, Stone Eby. I don't know where you go and find another Stone Eby, but it's going to be an interesting role that SMU is going to have to find and I don't know. I really don't know where you find a Stone Eby. I guess you can try it again and recruit a defensive offensive lineman who's a little undersized and turn him into an H-back or something. But a really interesting and hard position that will be to fill for SMU. But they are recruiting multiple tight ends as well on their recruiting board. And so I do want to highlight the 2 that are on the recruiting board that I think catch my eye the most when it comes to SMU's chances for these prospects. And again, I could maybe I'll highlight 3 here, but it's a really interesting position just because, there are so many prospects that have kind of like floated through here and there for a spring visit or, done those things. I mean, they had Landon Meary. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but out of Princeton, Ohio, they had him on campus. He's probably one that, you keep an eye on and you kind of file away, but it seems like Washington is doing a good job there. So he's got a national recruitment that could change. We'll see what happens. And then another one is Jordan Harris out of the state of Arkansas, really talented multi-sport athlete. I mean, he is kind of under the radar for, I think, how highly recruited he is. I mean, he's got Arkansas, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Missouri, SMU, and I really haven't kept up with him as much on Twitter, but he's probably got more, just kind of the way his recruitment's rolling from what I understand. So that's another name to watch. But if we're tracking the biggest name probably for SMU that's left on the board at tight end, it's got to be Zach Turner, the big jumbo athlete out of Duncanville High School. SMU continues to recruit that school well. They've already got Braylon Edwards on board for this class. And Zack Turner sits there as a top 25 athlete in the country. And there's a lot of debate around Zack Turner because if he puts his mind to it, he could probably play wherever he wanted on the football field and be productive and quite honestly have a future in the league. But it seems like most schools like him in that jumbo athlete, tight end, pass catcher role, and they'll just kind of figure it out from there with him if they get him on campus. So a prospect that is, near 1,000 yards from last season with, playing with Keelan Russell at Duncanville. So he was able to be super productive on the field. And then you factor in that they are going to move him outside a little bit more this year to play a true wide receiver, showcase him a little bit more in the offense with Dejon Moore moving on and some of those other studs that they had moving on. They've still got a lot of talented pass catchers. I mean, Trenton Yancey is one of SMU's top targets in 2027. But Zack Turner is a really, really good football player who I just think oozes freakish potential. I mean, if you watch this clip on YouTube, it's just man against boys out there playing. I know they're playing at Cedar Hill and looks like Cedar Hill. So didn't want to, have somebody catch a stray if it wasn't. But Zack Turner is a really, really good player. You see him finishing blocks too. So he is somebody that is going to take an official visit to SMU June 6th. Miami is threatening there as well. There's a couple of other programs hanging around, Oklahoma, Florida State, and those programs are pushing for him. So it'll kind of be a battle of, I don't want to say glitz and glam because, Miami's had some success, but is it going to be the glitz and glam of Miami? Is Oklahoma going to push and end up finding a way to get him, or is SMU going to keep him home and do that with Zack Turner? Because SMU's recruited Zack Turner for a while. I mean, this is probably going on 2-3 years now. I mean, I know he's been around SMU more than that, but in terms of actually having an offer, it's got to be 2 years, I would say, just off the top of my head. But he's wanted. He is a very good football player, and I would say he's probably the top target for SMU when it comes to the tight end position. And that's just more of a gut. I haven't, completely confirmed that, but I know he's got an official visit June 6th. So SMU's hoping to wrap that up there. Do want to remind you guys about our friends at Mosquito Shield, moshield.com. Reach out to Andrew Galloway and his family and get on their plan. Really helps with the bugs in the backyard for the summer. We've had a couple of our sprayings done already. We're getting rolling on that and feeling even better about our backyard and keeping those unwelcome pests away. Mention code PONYUP for the best pricing of the season. So go to moshield.com or give them a call, 214-775-0622 to schedule your appointment today. And again, that code PONYUP will get you the best pricing of the season. So make sure you reach out to our friends at moshield.com. So as we get into the what's next piece of the 2026 SMU recruiting class, I do want to shout out everybody in the comments. We got a couple of people a little too excited to see me on a live on a Wednesday morning, but appreciate you guys in there. And Jay, yes, need a new Walking Strong soon. And Bill is traveling the world, saving the world, and doing his job and all the important things that come with that. So he's been in and out of Dallas a little bit, and we've kind of, been trying to figure out some things. But I think this summer, leading into football season, we'll get things rolling. And then, of course, in the season, we'll be right back at it and in the thick of it with plenty of walking strong. So appreciate that. I'll have to send that to Bill as well and let him know, the people want the good stuff from us. So it's time to deliver something for their summer vacations and something that they can throw on the TV when the kids go to bed and enjoy a bottle of Epic with it. So, all right, we jump into what's next. I wanted to, and this was even before last night where Andre Nickerson committed. I knew that today, we had talked about it earlier this week, that I'd wanted to touch on some recruiting, and we're going to do that. And we're going to do that with football, and we're going to do it with basketball. So we'll keep it on football, though, for now. But do you want to say that 4-star offensive lineman Sam Uchu, who we had our official visit update with, he is been predicted to Washington. I never got really the sense that SMU was really pushing there. I'm not saying that, he was going to visit Alabama, USC, Texas this summer, and now he's predicted to end up at Washington, where I don't think he's taken an official visit to, but he's been probably a couple times. So just an interesting recruitment there. I never got the sense that SMU was pressing. So what a world, again, we're kind of living in there, where you look at, I guess Washington did host him the week before SMU. But anyway, what a world we're looking at, where SMU is maybe not pressing as hard for a 4-star offensive lineman that they brought in on an official visit for. And it's kind of that hard line to walk when you get guys on campus and you get them around your program, and maybe the staff is kind of like, don't know if this is a culture fit, or don't know if this is going to fit with our program, or maybe you have success with a guy like, Katoa, and, you feel good about that. And Sam's kind of a bigger body guy. You've got other guys coming in this summer for official visits. So lots to come there with the offensive line position. They still have some of their top targets that are set to visit this summer, and I'll be interested to see if they get some of the guys that were set to visit that maybe had committed elsewhere back around campus. But we talked about the tight end room a lot. I do want to take an early look at the Pony Express weekend, and do want to highlight a couple prospects here as we stick with pass catchers that will be on campus or expected to be on campus. And one that SMU went and checked in on for an in-home visit is Chase Campbell, Friendship, Texas. Really, really talented prospect here that has emerged as one of the top players in the entire country for On3. Top 100 prospect, top 10 wide receiver. He's kind of like, they can play him on the outside. I know you'll see 5'11", you'll say, well, what is he doing out there? And not being in the slot. But SMU really likes him on the outside. Of course, they're recruiting DeQuain Prevost when it comes to their slot position, and that is still the pitch. That is what they want in their slot receiver. And I think sticking with that plan has really, shown, I think, how well they feel like they stand with DeQuain Prevost. Now, Chase Campbell is going to take another official visit elsewhere. He's got a couple lined up. I would imagine Texas Tech is one of them. He's kind of plays it low key a little bit, but Arkansas is in there, Texas Tech, Kansas State. So kind of an interesting group overall there, where he could go out of state, but I will probably say that Texas Tech looks like they're going to be at least tough to beat. But Rob Likens did go and see him last week. I think maybe it was this week. Days are kind of running together this summer, but Chase Campbell is one that's going to be on campus for SMU this summer for that Pony Express weekend. And he's a really talented prospect. He'll be joined on the visit by Xavier Barnett, so he'll get a chance to recruit a little bit for SMU. And of course, we've talked about Jaden Warren, one of the top wide receivers in the entire country. I think he's been clocked in a 10-2. Really, really can roll in the 100-meter dash. And for SMU, that's kind of what they want to round out their pass catching group with is that level of talent. So a really, really strong group of wide receivers that SMU has committed already, and they're not done. They're shooting for literally the stars of Texas in this 2026 recruiting class to get them on board. So do you want to remind you guys again about our friends at the Thomas Auto Group? Make sure you head up 75 McKinney check out their Ford, Subaru, Volkswagen dealerships and mention on the Pony Express when you talk with them. And for pre-owned and new vehicles, you get employee pricing when you mention us. So it's a great deal. Had some friends that I was talking with last week. I mentioned it earlier this week that they are kind of starting that process, and I informed them of the deal. And now they're going to give it a look online and see if the vehicle that they need is at the Thomas Auto Group. And I said, if not, give them a call and they'll see what they can do and piece it all together. So big news there for you. And we always love reminding you about the Thomas Auto Group. Okay. SMU does have other priorities this summer. And when you look at where they've hit on so far in this recruiting class, you've got to feel great about wide receiver. Anytime you get a tight end committed, you feel great about that position. You've already checked one box. Running back, you've gotten one. You feel good about that. You want another, of course, but they're checking some boxes at position. Safety, I feel like, is in a great position and is done. Quarterback, they're going to shoot for the stars and go for, Keyshawn Henderson to go with Cole Leinert, but he's going to be a tough pull out of Houston. And I mean, at the same time, there's plenty of other programs that are working on him. I'll be intrigued to see how that one goes. I could see, Houston, standing strong and coming up with an insane amount of money for him, which would be quite the move there. But especially for a high school kid. But at the same time, will he stay committed to the Houston Cougars coming off a tough season? Now he could walk in there and probably start right away. So we'll see. But that's the 2026 quarterback target outside of Cole Leinert that SMU is working on. But when you look ahead to kind of what they need to hit on now over the coming weeks and months, the biggest position at this SMU, crossroads of this recruiting process is defensive line. And we've seen some prospects kind of come off the board, and it's probably reshaped the board a little bit for Calvin Thibodeau and what he needs to get out of the overall position group. But they have gone out and they've continued to hit the ground running when it comes to recruiting the defensive line position. And they do have Keith Doty committed, and Texas offered. We'll see kind of where things go from there with him. Obviously, it's a big offer, but Keith Doty has not backed off his commitment yet. We'll see what the summer brings. I'm sure he's expected on campus for an official visit at SMU. I would imagine it is the Pony Express weekend. That's kind of what they would like their commitments to do. But SMU also has a Montre Harris who could grow into maybe kind of a light defensive tackle, potentially. I'm just kind of seeing him. Maybe there's a world where he ends up being a 3 technique. But SMU has not stopped and just kind of said, "Oh, our top targets have committed to so and so. Okay, we're gonna stop recruiting them." No, they're still after a lot of these guys, but they're also casting a little bit of a wider net. And one of the guys that they've gone after is a Texas native who is down at junior college. He's at Trinity Valley right now, and he's become one of the highest ranked and recruited junior college defensive linemen so far. He's a class of 2026, so he would arrive in January. But Mississippi State has offered him, Georgia, Texas Tech. So he wants to do official visits after his season, from what it sounds like. So keep an eye on this one to go the distance. And the good thing is for SMU, he's right down the road. So Calvin Thibodeau can keep on him, keep working on him, and see where it goes from there. Another one that they've offered recently that raised some eyebrows, out of Clayton, North Carolina, Keshan Stansel, who is a top 100 prospect overall on On3, and kind of rightfully so. Some folks were saying, well, why the late offer? Well, SMU doesn't really recruit nationally. And when you look at this springtime, it is a time where a lot of programs go out, they offer kids, and they try to get them on board and do all of those things. And Keshan Stansel, I think SMU wouldn't have offered if they didn't feel like he's open enough to maybe coming and checking him out. And he's got a top 7 that includes Miami, NC State, Georgia, LSU, Tennessee, Clemson, Penn State. So trust me. And yeah. That group is, in it, and they're in the thick of it, but we'll kind of see what happens from here. And it's, it's kind of recruiting. I mean, in today's day and age, especially if you're, any position coach, you want to get out and see players. Well, they want to get out and see Keshan Stansel. They offered a kind of a host of guys at Clayton, and some of this too, you can kind of recruit ahead for the portal. You get in front of somebody, you kind of pre-recruit them, knowing maybe you're behind or whatever. And so we haven't gotten a chance to catch up with Keshan to see if it made a huge impact on him as far as the offer goes, but he is one of the best in the country. And, for SMU, as we've seen with like a Ja'Kai Anderson, how quickly a recruitment can change. Throw out the offer, see if you get him to campus, see if you can squeeze in an official visit and go from there. But, I don't know if it's as much of a product as, some of the targets coming off the board as much as it is Calvin Thibodeau knows they need to find defensive linemen in this class to get in from the high school ranks. And the ones that he likes, he's going to go ahead and throw out an offer, see if they can make a move into the recruitment and then go from there. And if not, you know what? They've built a relationship that maybe comes back around and can help them out down the line. So defensive line is very important, but that isn't the only prospect that is expected to come through this summer at the position. They are going to swing their shot with one of the best defensive ends in the entire country, and that is Jamarian Carlton out of Temple, Texas. Calvin Thibodeau was by to see him, I believe, for his spring game. I could be wrong on that, but I thought I saw a picture of him being among the coaches that are there or were there. And SMU is, going to put its best foot forward. I mean, you're looking at one of the best prospects in America. I mean, there's very few players that look as pretty as Jamarian Carlton. He does have a who's who recruiting him. Texas A&M is a huge threat in that one, and I would say they're probably the favorite in my mind right now. Torian York, the lead for the captain for Texas A&M, he went to Temple. Jamarian Carlton is going to check out LSU. He's going to check out Texas. He's going to check out Texas A&M, Baylor. As of right now, he's supposed to check out SMU. We'll see if that visit stays on the books, but certainly one to watch there. And then another big name is Dakota Dixon. And we've seen SMU have success, pull a couple kids out here and there from the state of California. Dakota Dixon is an uncommitted prospect who is at least slated to take an official visit, and we'll kind of see if that one goes through. And if it does, then you got to put him on one of the top targets and realistic targets for SMU as a whole, and see if you can, pull him out of there. So Dakota Dixon is another name to know. And then, like I've mentioned, they're in it still for Jamion Winfield. I don't think that one's going to end anytime soon. They're going to stay on other prospects, Daryl Campbell, other players like that have committed elsewhere and have been longtime targets, have visited SMU, and see if they can make some things shake when it comes to those prospects. So a lot of work to be done on the whole recruiting front. And the biggest, I would say, position that I think has a chance to right now maybe make a big splash kind of towards the end of this summer again is we're looking at that offensive line group. I mean, you look at who Garen Justice has stacked up to officially visit SMU, and we'll see if some of this has changed, but I think it's really trending in the right direction for them to sign one of their best offensive line classes in modern program history for sure. I mean, it starts with Papunga Katoa. You've got guys like Noah Best, Dejon Moore. You've got Avery Morcho or Morco out of Ridge Point down in the Houston-ish area. Noah Best is out of Midlothian. Dejon Moore is out of Willis. They have a lot of their top targets still out there on the offensive line that they can go out and get. And Avery is going to take an SMU official visit. He's locked that in. He's locked in a TCU official visit. And he's also going to take a Texas A&M official visit. So lots of moving parts there for SMU to kind of battle in state. And then you've got Noah Best, who you've been recruiting for a long, long time. Can you grab him away from Oklahoma again? Noah Best has a top 5 of Kansas State, Missouri, Oklahoma, SMU, and Texas Tech. He is one of the best interior offensive linemen in the country, and SMU is going to host him on that last June weekend. So he's going to hit up Mizzou, then Oklahoma, then Texas Tech, then SMU. So SMU's done a good job of getting a lot of their top priorities on campus early in their recruiting process, but Noah's one of those that as of right now, he's going to be on that last official visit weekend, as is Dejon Moore, who is a really intriguing prospect. He looks the part. He is kind of, I would say, probably your center in this class if they can get him on board. And if that happens, that is a huge recruiting win. You know, On3 is very high on him. He's somebody that we really are high on. And while his recruitment has been a touch fluid, I would say, in terms of maybe the programs that are really after him, he is still getting recruited by Maryland, Pitt. He's got that SMU official visit locked in. I think that visit up to SMU earlier this year, way early this year, really stood out to him in a big way. Like I really think that they made such a good impression on him. And since then, they've been firmly in the mix for him. And we'll see kind of how it goes. And then, of course, now you're waiting on the big guy, Drew Evers, and SMU's right there. You know, truthfully, I mean, this is the one that if they get him across the finish line, honestly, you're feeling good about the offensive line no matter what at that point. And then you just see if you can round it out with some of those guys. If they can get Drew Evers and then find a way to get one or two of Avery and then Dejon Moore and Noah Best, I mean, you are looking at the best offensive line class in modern program history. And Garen Justice will have kind of nailed his overall plan for this cycle. It's not perfect. You know, there's guys like Zayden Crimpin and John Turntine that, you know, were right there. You were kind of feeling it maybe coming out of January that SMU was right there. And then things just kind of dropped off. You know, I think Zayden Crimpin maybe didn't feel like it was the right fit for him. And I think SMU kind of felt that a little bit too. And I mean, we really haven't heard much buzz. On the flip side, you know, they really wanted John Turntine. And as of now, it's kind of fallen off. So we'll see if something changes there. But the recruiting world is so interesting with how quickly it can change. You can maybe build a little bit of momentum. And at the same time, you can also find ways to get some of those late lands. And Rhett Lashley and his staff have been pretty good at it, where you feel really strongly about the direction of your recruiting class and where it goes because of those late lands. And you kind of stay hot. Like, I think every year that Rhett's been here, SMU's kind of made a splash in that October, November, December range with getting one or two more top targets and top rated recruits, I'll add. So a lot of good stuff to watch there. Do want to mention our friends at Manny's. Manny's Tex-Mex. I tell you what, I love their lunch special. It's just so good and really reasonably priced, fresh chips, great food. And we love getting over to Manny's, and we love getting over to Manny's and saying queso, because that gets you 10% off your order, 10% off your food at Manny's Tex-Mex. So make sure you check them out and enjoy the patio at all of their locations. It's a great time, great spot. They've got 4 DFW locations. So look them up, Manny's Tex-Mex, and mention queso and get 10% off your meal today. So with that, guys, do want to wrap up the On the Pony Express podcast presented by our friends at Northwest Insurance Agency. I hope you guys enjoyed a little live show on this Wednesday. We will be back probably next week with a podcast. Just going to be kind of out of pocket here the back half of the week, and it's going to be hard to record. So if something big happens, I'll jump on, and it won't be the normal setup. But for now, guys, we're going to kind of shut it down for the rest of the week. And then when we get back after Memorial Day weekend, and I hope you guys have a great one, we are going to be kind of in the thick of recruiting season with the June SMU showcase camps, June 1st and 2nd. So that's a big chance for SMU to get some top targets on campus. They're also going to have that June 6th official visit weekend begin, the Pony Express weekend. So make sure you are locked on theponyexpress.com. Sign up for just $1 today and join us on the site. We appreciate all you guys who have joined us there. It's been a great time. And make sure you reach out to Mark Villasana today, 214-352-5656. Email him, info@nwagencies.com. Appreciate all of our sponsors. Appreciate all of you. Everybody in the comments, thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next time on the On the Pony Express podcast.
Thanks for listening to the On the Pony Express podcast with Billy Embody. Follow us on your socials on X at SMU on 3 and on Instagram at on3SMU. And keep it locked to ontheponyexpress.com for more coverage.